Rob Ruckus.
Hey, this is Kate Clover.
Hey guys, it's Nick Collins here from The Effect and Better Strangers.
Hi, my name is Madelyn Rose.
Hey, it's Ben McKelvey.
It's Tim Howard here from Mike and the Mechanics.
Hello, I'm Amanda Lehman.
I'm Billy Harvey.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Casey Sampson from the band Twist Stop.
Hey, it's Tony from Fastball.
Hello, everybody. My name is Isaiah Mitchell.
Hey guys, it's Matt here from the White Lakes.
You're listening to Almost Famous Magazine.
Come join us for this interview. Check it out, Almost Famous Magazine.
Hey there, and welcome back to Almost Famous Magazine's Hang. Today, we have an incredible young artist with us who's really up and coming in a genre that, I'll be honest with you, I'm looking forward to learn a lot about because it's not my typical genre. Country singer, songwriter, Madelyn Rose is joining us today, and we're going to find out all about where she started and all the great places she's going today. So Madelyn, great to meet you. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm excited to talk about where your career started. I think you have a fascinating story, and I want to hear all about it. Plus,
thank you.
We're also going to make sure we hit on, you have a new release coming out. We want people to go purchase that release and enjoy it. So we'll tell them about Cowboys in a little while. But tell me and all of our viewers, how did it all start for you? Like things started to come together, I think, like really young, like age 4. Did you find music? Did music find you? What's that story? And what's the arc of that path to becoming creative?
Yeah, great question. I started playing piano when I was 4. My parents had bought this really old garage sale keyboard. It was an old Casio. And it was kind of just like starting a hobby of like, okay, like you're 4 now, like we should probably get her into a hobby. And so, we got that keyboard. I took piano lessons for 10 years. And then I kind of, my dad would get me into karaoke just off YouTube in our living room. And from there, COVID hit. And I started writing during COVID. I started playing guitar, and then I started releasing my own music. So that's kind of where the whole thing started. In COVID, it was more about learning everything. It was learning how to produce. It was learning how to mix, how to write, how to record, obviously. And so I had a little home studio, and actually this is the same room that I was in now. But I had different keyboards, different guitars, so many speakers. I mean, I really had a miniature studio just in my room. And that's what I did all through COVID when I wasn't doing online school. So that's what got me started.
Yeah. And did COVID impact not only your curiosity around figuring out how to make things happen, right? What do all the knobs and bells and whistles do?
Right.
But did it inspire you creatively around kind of the content and context of what you were writing?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of people out there during that time that like emotionally got really deep on their music on social media. And I'm like, I'm not there yet. I'm not, that I was very shy back then. I didn't really want to share a ton of my life online. I really didn't want to share anything. I was a very, very shy kid. And so I remember just being like, doing all this recording and producing, and it's like, I have the time for it. Why don't I just learn everything? So, I would sit there for hours on end. I did school for like a few hours in the morning because I did do online school for a long time for that reason. But I would just sit there for hours and hours. And honestly, you get really frustrated because you're learning the whole thing by yourself off of free YouTube tutorials, free college courses. And I'm 13, 14 sitting there just like, I can't do this alone. And somehow I just like, step by step, I learned how to do it.
So what drew you into the country western genre? Like, how did that be the genre of music that you gravitated toward?
So that's what I've always grown up on. I've always related to that genre of music. I love to work. I love to fish. I every single word of country music seemed like I related to. And, you know, it's also what my family has loved. My grandpa, who passed away, we loved country music together. My dad and I bond over country music. And it was just like, country felt like home to me versus any other genre.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've kind of set yourself off to decide that you're going to create your own style of country. Tell me about how you started to bring the pieces together, right? And what you're trying to portray in that style that's going to set you apart from other musicians.
Well, I really wanted my first project to be super honest. My first project was called Teenage Heartache, got released last year. And we started releasing in January all the way through September-ish. And the year prior, we were recording, and the year prior, we were writing. So I was releasing stuff that I had, you know, wrote and produced 2 years ago, releasing it in 2023. Now it's 2024. And so I was a completely different person, you know, 2 years ago, especially when you're a teenager, like things change so fast. And I was going through like a lot of breakup turmoil, like first love and all that kind of stuff that I don't want to relive again. And so I wrote about all of that, and I wanted to feel like people were in the same boat as me. Because when I listen to music, I'm like, yeah, that's very relatable. And that made me want to listen to it again and again. So that's kind of what I wanted to achieve with my fans. It's just pure honesty and relatability.
Well, you mentioned earlier that when you first started out, you were kind of shy and you didn't want to share.
Mm-hmm.
What changed there? What's the thing that helped you break out of that concern or fear that you had to become more open and to really start to, you know, find that ability to share like that?
To be honest, it was the music business. I don't totally know what flipped the switch in me. I mean, I was literally, when I was 4, 5, 6, I couldn't have a basic conversation with people. I was so shy. And I mean, at that age, it is kind of normal to be very, very shy, but there was no way of performing in front of people, anything like that. And my dream was always to do music, but it's like, I'm not, you know, I can't talk to anyone. How am I going to perform? Right. So once I got into it professionally and I started talking about it, I just kind of grew out of my shell and kind of expanded from there.
Yeah, okay. Now you've got a new song that's dropping shortly called Cowboys. And then what, a new EP come about September-ish time?
September 6th, yep.
Oh, September 6th. You got a date. You're locked and loaded. Tell us about Cowboys and how, you know, your creative process around writing that.
So Cowboys was the only song on this new project that I wrote myself. I co-wrote it with Deanna Walker, which she also helped me co-write Sober on my last project. But I wrote this back in October, and I kind of wanted a really fun, flirty song, just to be able for like people to either laugh at or relate to, and just something not so serious, which I haven't done before. Like I said, my last project was very deep, very vulnerable, and so we went into this, and I'm like, you know, like a lot of girls my age are just finding this kind of guy very attractive to them, and I'm like, we should write a song about that. And so we sat down, we're like, okay, so like what about it? And we just kind of listed off all these different things, which came to be lyrics. But, you know, different cowboy boots and the brands and different stuff like that.
Yeah. And what can we expect? How many songs on the EP, and what are some of the other themes of some of the other songs?
So there is 3 songs total. Excuse me. The second song is kind of a little bit of a cheating song. Next 2 songs I did not write, I cut. But the next 2 songs are very, very fun, upbeat. I think of, when I listen to them, Jody Messina, early Carrie Underwood, early Miranda Lambert, very 90s, 2000 country, women's like rock and roll.
Okay. And I noticed that it looks like your calendar's booked for the summer. So if I'm out in the area and I can find you performing, what are you going to put in a set list? Like, are you going to, of course, probably I would imagine Cowboys, but what else makes up your set list, and how do you decide what you want to perform?
So normally I do a mix of covers and originals. I don't do a ton of originals. I do, an upcoming release and an old release. So in this, in this opportunity, I've been doing Save It, Cowboys, and Sober. And Sober was my last release in the last project. But I do a lot of covers. So anybody from Strawberry Wine with Deanna Carter, or Jason Aldean, Carrie Underwood, a lot of the classics that I listen to on a daily basis. And I understand there's people at my shows that aren't always going to love country music because it is a love or hate genre. And so I do a lot of Fleetwood Mac to, help be more inclusive to people that don't love country. And like Tom Petty, I'll do some of his. I try to really mix it up and get some inclusiveness of, different genres to include most people in my shows.
No, that's great. That's great. No, I think it's important. Well, let me ask you this question. Although you're creating country music, right? What are some of your other go-to genres? Like, what do you enjoy musically?
I primarily listen to country, old country, new country. Right now I'm loving Megan Maroney. I feel like we have a similar writing style and music style. I also I listen to a little bit of pop, a lot of Zach Bryan, like pop country mix, a lot of rock country mix, like Hardy, or some of the Morgan Wallen stuff is, in my opinion, rock country. But, the meaning of country music has expanded so much in the past 10 years. I mean, you look at somebody like Zach Bryan, and if you didn't know he was country, you could easily say he was folk or Americana. And I think that's pretty cool. And then you listen to somebody like Kelsey Ballerini or Casey Musgraves, and it's like, well, that's not country, that's pop. And you discover that they're in the country music business, and it's country pop. So I think there's a little bit of something for everybody out there.
Yeah. Which artists have you drawn inspiration from? Because you've given us a lot, but like, who are a few that they speak to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like imitation's the greatest form of flattery, right? So a lot of artists will pick a flavor of this, a flavor of that individual, and try and weave it in. Who are some of those artists that provide you inspiration, and why?
That's a great question. A lot of the musicians that I grew up listening to would be Carrie Underwood, Miranda Lambert. Some Taylor Swift when she was in country. Gotta be honest, I'm not a huge Taylor Swift fan, which goes against the grain. But I love Lainey Wilson, Megan Maroney, Kelsey Ballerini, and specifically right now, I do love Lainey the most because she goes against the grain. And, it's not just trying to fit in with a crowd. It's like, she wears the most country Western apparel, and she writes about the most country topics more than anybody else. And she just doesn't really care what people think. And I think that's why she's so successful. So, listening to somebody, I feel like the reason that somebody makes it is because they're different. You've got Miranda Lambert, who at sometimes, she's got a potty mouth and different stuff like that, but it works for her because that's different from anybody else. And so that's what I've been trying to do.
Yeah, no, I think that what you have to find in yourself is that thing that helps you stand out at the front of the parade, right?
Exactly.
And this is I have a mentor who had this phrase, find a parade and lead it. And it was all about, if you're playing third trombone in the marching band, who's coming to see you? Typically your parents, right? But everyone remembers the drum major, right? So you got to find a parade and lead it. And I think it's very challenging these days, right? Because there's so many people and there's so many avenues to acquire content. How do you find that thing that helps you stand out in the crowd that other people aren't doing?
That's a great question. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure yet. I'm still trying to find myself. One of the things is I believe a lot in like modesty, honesty. I feel like a lot of times in the business, it's like, whoever can show off the most skin wins. And I don't believe in that. I mean, it seems like everybody's album covers are borderline naked these days. And I just feel like you should be popular or famous or successful because of your voice and your music and your talent, not because of your looks or, what the stuff that doesn't matter. So I've been trying to stand out by really writing more about my everyday life lately. So that for me, that's the lake. Everyday hobbies. I love my dog, my my guitar, my parents, any of that kind of stuff. I like to write about, my everyday life. And that's something that I didn't really used to do, which is where Cowboys came from. I didn't really want to write about that because I'm like, hey, I don't want people knowing about my love life. And then it's like, all the other teenage girls or 20, 30-year-old girls are like, I relate to that. You should release that. So, that's kind of where that came from. That's trying to how I'm trying to stand out.
Oh, great. Now, you're a Western New York girl, Western Central New York girl who ended up in Nashville. Tell the story of how that happened.
Great question. I've always lived here my entire life. Very harsh winters, kind of warm summers, but in the summer it was always worth it because of the lake. I'm always been a lake girl, always will. And I signed a deal with Veer Distribution in 2022, the summer of 2022. And from there, we, decided, hey, we need to start putting out some music. We really need to get this party going. And from there, it's been like a roller coaster. So we planned my first trip down to Nashville in June. And so we actually started recording three songs, my first 3 releases. We recorded those before I even signed with Veer. Veer was kind of like an afterthought. We got, we're starting to get ready to release, and we're like, we should probably release these through somebody, huh? We're like, that'd probably be smart. So yeah, that's how originally I got down to Nashville. I decided that a lot of stuff I can do myself or in New York. But the one thing that you can't replace is the actual music production in Nashville. Nothing compares.
Yeah, no, we had a great conversation with Jack McBannon about a couple months ago, and he lives in Germany, but he recorded his album in Nashville at the Cash Cabin, so which was just released. So yeah, no, there's a feel for Nashville for sure that you can't duplicate. I'm always where are some places, and it's important to tell the audience where and the best way that they can connect with you, right? Because there are so many different areas out there. But what are the best ways that they can connect with you and support you?
My preferred method is always live shows, but I understand that most of my audience is not in New York, and I'm not full, touring the United States yet. So I post a lot on social media, whether that be YouTube. I post a weekly cover, and then I also post either a short or like a TikTok, Instagram reel every single day. So on any different platform, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or TikTok, I'm posting every single day, and I try to respond to every single one of my comments. Whether that's like, having a conversation about a brand new song, I appreciate those comments so much, and I appreciate the feedback, even if it's negative. I mean, feedback is feedback. So yeah, I always like to talk with my fans and see what they like, and what songs goes viral more than others. Like I had a song that wasn't country, Fleetwood Mac. It went much more viral than a traditional country song that's on the radio right now. And so just having a conversation with my fans of like, hey, like, it's good to know that you guys like this. I'm going to do this more at my shows. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yes, definitely. If you are in the New York State area, in the Northeast, you've got a lot of dates coming up this summer. I'll tell you something that I just learned over the weekend. That same artist I was telling you about, Jack McBannon, he was doing a show in Berlin, and a gentleman came up to him and said, I came to the show because I saw you on Almost Famous magazine. So if that happens in Berlin, you're a lot closer. So absolutely. I mean, support Madelyn, purchase her music. I know a lot of people like to stream, but supporting an artist in ways that impact them, both by showing up at shows, buying merch, buying their music, helps them create more content for you.
Exactly.
This doesn't happen in a vacuum. I like to wrap these conversations up to learn a little bit about the music that you're listening to, right? Because everyone's got a playlist. We live in a world of playlists, right?
Right.
And it doesn't have to be country, and it doesn't have to be someone super popular.
Mm-hmm.
But like, who are 3 or 4 either songs or artists that you're really digging right now, and why? And why should other people explore them as well, on top of exploring your music?
Oh, that's a great question. I am listening to a brand new Megan Maroney song from the new movie Twister. A bunch of country artists came together, including Luke Combs and Megan Maroney, to put together a soundtrack for the new Twisters movie, which is the one about the tornado, which I think is a remake. And so I've been listening to that. I've also been listening to Lainey Wilson's new song, Country's Cool Again. Love that message. And who else? Miranda Lambert's brand new song called Wranglers, and Zach Bryan's new song, Pink Skies. And I think that's one of the coolest songs right now, because it talks about a funeral of either one of your family members or one of your friends. And it was just like, the skies were pink during your funeral, and it was sad but sweet. And my grandpa passed away a few years ago, and I miss him every day. And I really relate to that song. So
Cool. You're just starting out in your career, and you're going to have a lot of opportunity. But if there was one artist that you could get in a room with to collaborate, you might have a couple in mind. We could take a second or a third. I can tell by your response. Who would that person be, and why?
Well, I would love any female, but if I have to be completely honest, I think that male and female voices go better together from the contrast. And my favorite duets are with Kenny Chesney. And I've always grown up listening to Kenny Chesney. I sing his songs with my dad all the time. So it would be very, very surreal and very awesome. I know he's a really cool guy. It it would be Kenny Chesney. And I just recorded in the Sound Emporium in Nashville, which is where he recorded his at least 2 studio albums, which would be Hemingway's Whiskey and there's one more, but they're both older, in the 2010s and stuff. And I've always sang all those songs. So just standing in the room where he's recorded with like Grace Potter or some of his other duets was very surreal.
Oh, that's great. And I asked that question because you never know who could watch this. They could
Right.
come to a gig or they could know Kenny Chesney.
Right.
So you never know. You never know. Well, Madelyn, this has been a great opportunity to get to know you. I wish you all the best success. If you are in the Northeast, whether you're around the corner or you got to take a road trip, you're playing all over the middle of the state in Western New York this summer. Don't miss out on a chance to come check her out, whether you're a country music fan or not, because her catalog spans more than just country. And you never know, she could convert you over. You never know. But get out, look for her on her website, on her socials, follow her and support her, because it's always the best time to get in is when someone's on the upswing and they're a new rising star. And I know you're going to have great things down the road. So Madelyn, thanks so much for hanging with us today. Everybody,
Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. If you have comments, if you have questions, we'll make sure she gets the questions and we'll get you answered. But we really appreciate you hanging out today. And it was great to get to know you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All the best.
Bye.
Bye-bye.